with what we're doing. Well, we've had a pretty cold winter over here. I know a lot of times you were wondering if it would ever end. Especially last month when we had to cancel our meeting. This program was supposed to be given last month, but because we didn't have a meeting, it was postponed till today. And with the coming of warmer weather, we are going to be joined by some other animals that weren't present in the winter. And as you can see, any animal that is ectothermic and can generate its own body heat, like we can, so always dormant in the winter. That includes arthropods like insects, ticks, etc. That's the advantage of hiking in winter. You don't have to be bothered by mosquitoes. What we're going to be concerned about is one particular tick. It's commonly called the deer tick, scientific name Ixodes damani, and it originally was found in the southern part of the state, Long Island, and area, the Catskill area, closer to New York City. But the deer tick has been expanding its range, and I think some of you may have encountered some of them even last summer, or ticks of some kind. Why we're concerned with the deer tick is because it's a carrier of a very serious and crippling disease. And this is the kind of group, we like to be outside, we like to be active, and this disease called Lyme disease can very well keep you from doing it. And some of you may have some experience with that, or know somebody who's had Lyme disease, and can tell what it does to people. So what we're going to show you tonight is ways that you can help prevent getting this and keep enjoying the great trails and resources that we are fortunate enough to have in this area. And this workshop will basically have three parts to it. The first thing is how to reduce your chances of being bitten by a tick. And second, if you are bitten by a tick, the best way to remove it. And the third part, recognizing some of the symptoms of Lyme disease and what you can do about it. How I came by this information is back in my former life when I was, before retirement, gainfully employed. One of my jobs was inspecting nurseries in Long Island. And Long Island nurseries are full of these ticks. So for my own protection, I had to learn about deer ticks, how to recognize them, and what to do about them, and about Lyme disease. So I got this information, and the club thought, well, it might be a good idea if we share this with you tonight. Now, I passed these books around, and hopefully all of you have gotten these, because this is a very nice resource that the State Health Department has made, and has really some good information about it. There's also a lot more on the table over here, and you're welcome at any time to help yourself to anything that's here on the table. Okay. First, how do you protect against ticks? And the information on that can be found on page 3 of your book. Of course, as we said, the ticks are, being ectothermic, have to be dormant during the winter. As the warm weather gets up, and it's supposed to get close to 70 possibly tomorrow, isn't that nice? The ticks are going to become active. They'll be reaching temperatures where they can. And the immature ticks, which have been dormant in generally leaf litter in the ground during the winter, you take the temperature, say a couple inches from your body, it seems to be a little bit higher than what it is in the room. Well, the tick knows that its host is endothermic and has a higher body temperature, and therefore that's what he senses. So when the tick stays there quietly, but when he senses an increase in temperature around him, that's when he starts flailing his legs. And if the animal or person producing this is close enough, he's going to latch on, and the tick is on its host. So, there are a few things that you can do to protect yourself. Okay, one of the best measures of protecting yourself from these ticks is the pants that you wear. Now, there are, say when it's like 90 degrees outside, yeah, it's kind of tempting to go hiking in shorts. However, the bare legs don't really give you a lot of protection as full-length pants do. And we'll also mention that the deer ticks are dark, about the size of a poppy seed. They're pretty small, but they're dark. And if the pants you're wearing are a light color, you have a better chance of seeing the tick when he crawls up. You see a little speck, and it's on your pants, and it's moving. That's probably a tick there, and you can see it remove it. Now, yeah, I can say it's very tempting to hike in shorts if it's in the 80s there, but I found pants like these to be good and lightweight, and these convertible ones, I think I bought these at Dick's, but a lot of these stores sell them, and I'm not comfortable wearing these even on a hot day. And when the hike is over, of course, you can just zip off the legs and you've got shorts. And, but during the hike, it's a good idea to keep them covered. Okay, say the tick gets on your shoe. Of course, he starts looking to get in your body, and he can get under your pant legs and start crawling up your leg. Well, a good way to prevent that, and I think some of you know this, is to tuck the end of your pants into your socks, and over here you created a barrier that can help to keep them from coming. And then it's a good idea to spray this with a repellent. Well, something like off is good. It contains DEET, and there is some literature on the table about repellents. We could take a whole workshop just on this topic, but we only have a half hour, and we're going to try to cover important issues like that. Okay. Also, the shirt should be tucked into your pants, because here's another barrier that keeps them. So you've got a barrier over here, keeps them from getting in, one over here. Now, it also says in the book about wearing a long sleeve shirt. A lot of times when people write these books, they only think of the issue And but let's face it, if it's temperatures up in the 80s, there's another hazard that needs to be considered called heat stroke, which is a very serious and could be even a fatal condition. And you increase your chances of getting heat stroke if you're overdressed. So maybe 70s, longer sleeve shirt. But if it's up in the 80s, personally, I just wear a non-cotton T-shirt, like color, like this one here. So keep in mind the complete picture. You know about protection from hot weather. Keep well hydrated, dress appropriately, and you can enjoy our great resources even on a hot day. Okay. So also, sometimes ticks get up on lower branches, shrubs, and trees, and it's a good idea to have a barrier on your head as well, so it's protecting you from your scalp from solar radiation. So a hat is also good. Okay, so that's dressing for it. Now, after the hike, you come home. What they're recommending here is that you go into the bathroom and take off all your clothing, strip down your birthday suit. If you have a mirror in the bathroom, stand in front of it and examine your body for ticks. And keep in mind, they like to go often in damp parts of your body, your armpits, knees, and also some areas that you're wearing. You can stand in front of the mirror and at least check your ventral surface. And if you are living with, unless you're living alone, if you're with somebody, you fight together, you can examine each other's dorsal surface. And have a good shower. Wash the clothes that you wore as soon as possible. And do that check on you've taken any pets along the hike. Check for them as well. Okay, so that's the part about prevention, which is really always the best way. Now, what would happen if, let's say, you were to find, after all, prevention of tick, it's not foolproof, and you could find a tick on your body. I had one last summer, of all places, in Mendon Park, in the Expo. So go figure. What's the best way to remove the tick? Now, I'm going to pass this picture around, and you can see why the tick is kind of difficult to remove here. You see it has that barbed mouth part, where once it's in there, it latches on pretty good. Okay. The information about removing ticks is on page 6. And the very first thing to mention is sometimes you've heard, well, you can relax the tick by dousing it with alcohol or some kind of chemical. Actually, that's the last thing you want to do. That's one thing you should never even consider. Just think what happens. The tick is feeding on you. Maybe he hasn't put the pathogen in your body yet. You put some poisonous chemical on him. What's going to happen to him is what happens, really, would happen to you or to any animal. The begin to disgorge their stomach contents. And that's the last thing you want the tick to do. If he hasn't put the Lyme pathogen in you yet, he might very well do it then. So never use a chemical, a match, anything you've heard of like that, forget about it. There's ways to remove the tick, and the recommendation is to get a pair of pointed tweezers and put them directly on the tick's head. The other thing you don't want to do is squeeze the tick's body with your fingers. That'll give you the same result. You'll still upchuck his stomach contents, squeeze his body. So only, so you don't use your fingers, just use the tweezers to grab the tick by the head here. Now, over at the EMS store in Pittsburgh, they have this device called a tick key. And as you can see, it's got a hole that can fit right in your key where you carry your keys. And I'm going to pass this around, but make sure I get this back. I won't be able to get in my house tonight. But my car keeps on out here. Okay. But the price I saw at EMS was $7 for this key, and it's up to you. There, it might be a fairly good investment, and I don't know. Possibly they offer a discount to ADK members. Maybe somebody on your knows, but it won't hurt to ask. No. But the most you would pay for this would be $7. And it's a very good device for just latching on to the meat of the tick and pulling it out. It works really well. So that's another choice that you have, and something very easy to carry around. Okay, you pull the tick out. What do you do? Well, there's no reason to keep them alive. I tried to find out if you could send it to a lab, they could test it for the Lyme pathogen. What physicians have told me is that it can't be done. It isn't done. So the best thing is to pull it in a vial with alcohol and to kill it. Now, and then to just clean the bite wound with either alcohol or peroxide, something else have at home. Okay, then we want to find out what kind of a tick it is. I'm going to pass this sheet around, which shows how you can tell the difference between the deer tick and another common tick called the dog tick, which is on the other side of the page. And you can do it, but you need a good microscope. Ticks are very small, and you're not going to see this without a microscope. Now, I do have other copies of that sheet. I have a few of them that I made. And if you have a microscope, then you're welcome to, I'll put it on the table here and take a copy of this, or to have access to a microscope. Know somebody who has one, whatever. But what they're showing, and you can see when the sheet is passed around, is a little groove that's near the tick's anus. And on the deer tick, it's behind, and dog tick it's in front. And also the dog tick has some festoons around the posterior part of the body, which the deer tick doesn't have. So with a microscope, you can do this, but most of us don't have access to a microscope. We have a member of our mushroom club who has one. I don't think I see him here. And anyway, but a good place to get a tick identified is your local extension service, which in Monroe County, I think you know, is on Island Avenue. Take the tick that you put in the alcohol to extension service, and they have microscopes there, and they'll be able to tell you what kind of a tick it is. Okay, so anything so far on prevention or removing the tick? All right, the last topic for tonight is about Lyme disease itself, and that information is on page 1 and 2. Several years ago, there was a vaccine that was available, but it was only on the market a short time and it was pulled off. Right now, there is no vaccine for Lyme disease. There is research being conducted. Hopefully someday there'll be one again, but there really isn't at this time. It's unfortunate. I participated in the field study on it. So anyway, in over half of the cases, if you keep checking the site where you pull the tick out, a circular rash may develop around it. Now, it doesn't develop in every case, but it can. And the good news about Lyme disease is that if it's caught early, then it's usually complete. It can go into complete remission and never even have any ill effects. The pathogen that causes it is a type of bacteria called the spiral bacteria, and causes, there are several other spirochetes that cause diseases as well. So first, an early symptom is the circular rash around the site of the bite. Now, it can be very mild, just a very slight discoloration, and no ill effects. You may not even feel it itching. So if you don't look for it, you don't know that it's there. It's not a bad idea to keep checking it at least for a month after you've pulled that tick out. And there are pictures on page 2 of various ways that what the rash looks like. So if you see that rash, get immediate medical attention, because the doctor will put you on an antibiotic treatment, and you'll be, in almost all cases, it's completely curable. Now, it tells you there that the rash doesn't always happen, and later on you may develop symptoms which are described at the top of page 2, that it almost seems like a sudden attack of arthritis, where you've come there and you're wondering why you're feeling that. A lot of joint pain and stiffness, sometimes facial paralysis, and definitely can put a hamper on your outdoor activities when this happens. While Lyme disease is curable, the longer you wait, the longer it's been in your body, the longer it takes to get rid of it. It could wind up in 10 years. So if you feel symptoms like that, have it checked out. There is a blood test for Lyme disease, and generally that blood test is not too reliable the first month after you been invested. But after a month or two, after the tick has put the pathogen in your body, the blood test is fairly reliable, and the doctor can tell if that's what you have, and will begin treatment. So, I think the time that has been allotted is just about over. We tried to go over this evening ways that you can prevent getting bitten by a tick, and what you can do for hiking shorts, you know, and how to remove the tick, and checking for Lyme disease. Help yourself to the literature that's on the table, and we'll have some time for questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've never worked with that,
It wouldn't be bad, or even gators. Well, gators certainly keep your pants clean.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, the gentleman was asking about spats, which wouldn't hurt. Many of us wear gaiters when we're hiking, and that's another layer of protection. You have not just for ticks, but keep your pants clean too. Yes, sir.
I have two questions. You didn't say anything about spraying your clothes with permethrin, which is supposed to, you know, protect you from ticks.
That is one of the recommended repellents. Yes, this one over here has DEET in it, which is an old standard. It's just the off repellent, which works. Permethrin works as well, and there is a lot of information on the table about repellents, what repellents to use, how to use them. This particular publication is a very good resource about it. It tells you a lot of the information that we covered tonight, some that we haven't. So, by all means, brought this information here, and be sure to help yourself to it. Yes, Don?
I had another part of the question, and that was I heard this radio story, but I didn't get it all. They said if you put in your yard a tube from paper towels, and you put cotton balls in there, but I didn't get what they sprayed the cotton balls with, because the mice will bring the cotton balls back to the nest, and if you put it out in May, it'll kill the ticks. And if you put it out in late July, early August into beginning of September, it'll kill the larvae. But my question is, what do you spray the cotton balls?
You've come across a technique I'm not familiar with, and I'm sure there's a lot of things around. Did you say you heard this on the radio?
Yeah. He, SXI did a whole hour of Lyme.
Good. I wish I'd heard that program. I wasn't aware that it was on. I think there's a section in here, if I remember, about what you were talking about, and creating a tick-free zone. So a lot of things you can do to reduce the ticks in your own yard. And certainly you or your pets can get them there. Yeah.
Question about, I've had some people tell me that you could actually try to smother the tick before you try to pull it out, or you use a cotton ball and alcohol. Don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Were you here about 20 minutes earlier?
No.
Oh,
I didn't hear you say that.
Okay.
I heard just say you use the tweezer to pull it out.
Right.
I've heard some people say if you use the cotton ball with alcohol before you do that, then it makes it easier to get the critter to.
And what the tick is going to do when you do that is to disgorge his stomach contents.
Okay.
You have a similar reaction if someone did that to you.
Right.
Any animal does. That's the last thing you want the tick to do. And so it'll tell you never to do that. There's been a story about that, and that's one of the things we wanted to dispel in this workshop. Don't even give that procedure a thought. Use, as you say, the tweezers, or I guess the ticky that's being passed around. You can look at it, you can buy it at EMS. Maybe there's maybe members get a discount, I don't know, but $7 is the price they're asking. Might be a good investment if you do a lot of hiking.